Very soon, there will be a time when you will be tested and you cannot fail. You will be forced to make a decision and you cannot go back. The truth is that you will live through hell if you have the courage to choose to go to heaven. If you had to choose between feeding your hungry child or following Jesus, what would you choose? Seems like a bizarre question, right? I agree with you. However, I have to warn you, this is not impossible to happen. In the very near future, people will accept the mark of the beast, and the reason will surprise you. You will be tested in ways you never thought possible, and you will not be given a second chance. The things that are about to happen were revealed in the Bible a long time ago, and I will explain them to you in this video. The only thing I ask is that you stay with me until the end, because I'm going to reveal to you what few people have the courage to say. I'm going to tell you about the evil plan that Satan will use to force people to accept the mark of the beast. Chapter 13 of the book of Revelation in the Bible describes a vision that the Apostle John had about two beasts emerging from the sea. These beasts are often interpreted as symbols of evil powers or oppressive systems that will emerge in the last days before the return of Jesus Christ. The first beast is described as having 7 heads and 10 horns, each with a crown, and resembles a leopard with the feet of a bear and the mouth of a lion. This beast receives its power and authority from the dragon, who is previously identified as Satan. She is worshipped by the people of the earth, and everyone whose names are not written in the Lamb's Book of Life worships her. This beast is also associated with mortal wounds that have been healed, which may symbolize a false resurrection or an apparent restoration of power and authority. The second beast, which emerges from the earth, has 2 horns like a lamb, but speaks like a dragon. She exercises authority in the name of the first beast and performs great signs and miracles, deceiving the people of earth and persuading them to worship the first beast. It also institutes an economic system controlled by the mark of the beast, which is placed on people's hands or foreheads and is needed to buy or sell. In Revelation 13 verse 5 we read, "And there was given unto him a mouth to utter great blasphemies, and power was given unto him to act for 42 months. This verse is part of the context in which the Apostle John describes a vision he had about a beast emerging from the sea. The beast is often interpreted as a symbolic representation of earthly powers that oppose God and persecute the followers of Christ. The part, "and there was given him a mouth to speak great blasphemies," indicates that this beast is characterized by arrogance and blasphemy against God. She speaks with great authority and makes statements that directly challenge divine authority. The second part of the verse, "and power was given unto him to act for 42 months, suggests that this beast will have authority and influence for a specific period of time, which is traditionally interpreted as 42 months. These months are often seen as representing a time of persecution and tribulation for followers of Christ, symbolizing a time of challenge and trial. In Revelation, chapter 13, verses 16 to 17, there is a very clear warning about how the beast will implement his mark and force Christians to accept it. See what it says. "She caused everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their forehead, so that no one could buy or sell, except the one who had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of his name." The number mentioned is the famous number of the beast, which is 666, a symbolic figure associated with the Antichrist or the evil system he represents. I know that for us who are Christians it is difficult to think of someone who would accept the mark of the beast. I mean, how are you a Christian and you want to follow God, and in the face of the Antichrist you betray Jesus and start following the devil? Well, verses 16 and 17 of chapter 13 of Apocalypse are a good starting point for us to understand. From these verses we can conclude that people who refuse to accept their mark will face a series of distressing and challenging difficulties. Firstly, there is a severe restriction on access to essential goods and services. Those without the mark are prevented from obtaining food, water, medicine, and shelter, resulting in widespread shortages and suffering. Furthermore, exclusion from the formal economy is a reality for the unmarked. Unable to participate in financial transactions, find employment, or pay bills legally, these people face extreme poverty. Persecution and oppression are constant threats to those who resist the Antichrist's regime. Furthermore, the psychological and spiritual pressure will be overwhelming. Propaganda and indoctrination will be used to convince them to change their position, while they face doubts, fears, and moral conflicts about their choices. To sum it up, it will be hell on earth for those who decide to resist, if you will allow me to put it that way. This scenario that I just briefly described causes fear and despair if we give it due attention. I mean, how can we live without water? Without food? Jobless? And at the same time, it seems difficult to happen. It's hard to think that our world, which despite all the problems, we share a reasonable amount of freedom at least in some countries of the world, can stay like this. But, this is written in the Bible and I need you to see this as a warning for us to prepare. This is not a message to paralyze you, it is a warning for you to understand what is going to happen and do something about it. And for that you will need to understand how the world will reach this terrible and frightening scenario. So we have separated 3 methods by which the devil will try to implement his brand and force people to accept it, and the most important thing is that you know it's just that these methods are already being implemented right now while I'm talking to you. These cruel ways of acting include forcing, deceiving, and putting something or someone above all else, and 2 of these things are closely linked. Idolatry often comes from deception. No one indulges in idolatry by choice, it is always the result of an illusion created by external influences. In the book of Revelation, we see that everyone, rich or poor, will be forced to accept this brand, otherwise they will not be able to buy or sell. Now, think about the suffering of a father who cannot provide what is necessary for his family without accepting this mark. He is torn between letting his family go hungry or giving in to temptation and accepting the mark so he can buy food and things like that. It's a very difficult situation. And imagine a single mother, who has to take care of her children alone. She knows that accepting this mark could have bad consequences forever, but maybe she decides to accept it anyway, just to be able to support her children. Sometimes, concern about the eternal future takes a back seat to the urgent problems of the present. It's sad to see how many people forget to think about what will happen after this life. The Bible always reminds us of the importance of our choices and how they affect not only our lives here, but also what comes after. Before we go to the second method that will be used by the devil, I just want to ask that you check if you are already subscribed to the channel and leave a like on the video if you like videos like this. Returning to the content, another reason why many will be deceived is the devil's ability to manipulate and distort the truth. Jesus referred to him as the father of lies, highlighting his deceptive nature. Technology, which is so prevalent in our world today, is not immune to this influence. Satan is a master at creating and disseminating lies. With Jesus himself speaking to a group of Jews, he said, "You are of the devil, who is your father, and you want to fulfill his desires." He was a murderer from the beginning and never established himself in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he utters a lie, he speaks his own, for he is a liar and the father of lies. John 8 verse 44. Deception is Satan's main weapon against people who follow God. He uses tricks to make them turn away from God. The Apostle Paul warned that Satan disguises himself as a good angel, 2 Corinthians 11 verse 14, so everything he says and does appears to be good but is not true. In this verse Paul is warning the Christians in Corinth about the presence of false teachers who were infiltrating the Christian community and trying to divert them from the true faith. He compares these false teachers to Satan, who is known for his deceitful nature. When Paul says Satan himself disguises himself as an angel of light, he is describing how Satan is able to present himself as something good, pure and divine, when in fact he is evil and deceitful. Satan does not appear openly as a sinister and threatening figure, but often disguises himself as something attractive and seductive, such as an angel of light. This angel of light image suggests something heavenly and divine, but Paul is warning that even something that appears good at first glance can be a trap of the evil one. He is encouraging Christians to be vigilant and to discern between the true and the false, lest they be deceived by these false teachers who masquerade as messengers of God. If we look at the history of Satan's destructive work, we will see that his preferred method has always involved deception. On countless occasions, from his beginnings in the Garden of Eden to his attempts to lead Jesus astray, deception was his main tool. And it continues to be today. Perhaps you imagine that the devil will only emerge at the end of time, deceiving multitudes with lies about his own identity. The Bible itself has many names for Satan that describe what he is really like, including the leader of this world, John 12 verse 31, the ruler of this time, 2 Corinthians 4 verse 4, he who tempts, 1 Thessalonians 3 verse 5, the deceiver of the whole world, Revelation 12 verse 9, Beelzebub, meaning Lord of the Flies, the chief of the demons, in Matthew 10 verse 25, and Belial, who means the evil one, 2 Corinthians 6 verse 15. However, in Revelation 13, we find two key figures. The first is the Antichrist and the second is the false prophet. The latter endorses the Antichrist, encouraging the world to worship him. Let's see what the false prophet does, as it is written in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 14. He deceives the people on earth with signs that he was allowed to do in front of the beast, telling the people on earth to do an image of the beast that had been wounded by the sword and came back to life. He will trick people into accepting the brand by using signs and wonders. Many people will be impressed by these events and will blindly follow the false prophet as he directs the worship of the Antichrist. This was warned by Jesus, who said that in the last days, false prophets would appear, performing great signs and miracles to deceive many people. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 24, it is recorded that false Christs and false prophets will arise, performing signs and wonders so impressive that, if possible, even the elect would be deceived. For false Christs and false prophets will arise who will perform great signs and wonders so as, if possible, to deceive even the elect. These false teachers will be so convincing in their deceptions that, if possible, even true followers of Jesus would be deceived by them. Revelation 14 details how 3 angels will be sent by God to proclaim the gospel. However, the power of deception is so great that even when faced with warnings from these angels not to take the mark of the beast, some will still give in. The first of these angels is described as having an everlasting gospel to preach to them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation, and kindred, and tongue, and people, Revelation 14 verse 6. His message is a call to fear God, give him glory and worship him as creator of the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the springs of water. It is an invitation to recognize divine sovereignty and surrender to his will. The second angel follows, announcing the fall of Babylon, a symbol of the world system that opposes God and his truth. He proclaims with a powerful voice, warning of the danger of surrendering to the deceptions and temptations of this world, which lead to eternal separation from God. The third angel warns about the consequences of worshiping the beast and its image, clearly identifying who are the true worshippers of God and those who followed the path of perdition. He warns of the terrible fate reserved for those who choose evil over truth, challenging the faithful to remain firm in their faith, even in the face of pressure and persecution. These 3 angels represent God's last call for mercy to humanity before the final outcome of apocalyptic events. His message is an urgent call for people to repent, turn from sin, and turn to God while there is still time. It is an offer of salvation and redemption to all who choose to accept it. The third method employed by deception is idolatry. Idolatry is like a shadow that covers the light of truth, making people blind from seeing what really matters. But those who are attentive, with an open mind and heart, can resist this temptation and show the truth behind the lies that confuse us. The problem, my brother, is that once the deception sets in, the first beast will become an idol, being loved and adored, even though he is fed by the power of hell. He will remain a human being, but people will idolize him. The Antichrist will demand worship so intensely that he will proclaim himself God. It may seem absurd, but the idolatry of human figures is already a reality in this world. Just look at celebrity culture, where individuals are placed on a higher level, causing fainting spells, hysterical screams, and even fanatical bows. This mentality has even infiltrated churches, where famous leaders can be treated like idols. It is right to love and respect the spiritual leader, but worshiping him goes beyond limits. In our society, it is common to find ourselves involved in a kind of cult of what we consider most important. When we prioritize certain things in our lives, when we venerate them exaggeratedly, they become idols to which we worship. It is as if we were deceived, deluded to the point of becoming worshippers of these idols. It is crucial to understand that if we allow ourselves to be carried away by this idolatry, we are moving away from the path of God. It is not a judgment, but a sincere warning. And although this warning is serious, it does not compare to the terrible consequences in store for those who persist in idolatry. You may disagree and think that you do not fit into this category of idolatry. However, if you put the love of money above the love of God, then you are fooling yourself. As it is written in Matthew 6 verse 24, "No one can serve two masters, for he will love one and hate the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other." It is not possible to serve both God and money. Finally, I want to share with you a phrase that is in my head right now, and I'm sure it will serve as a consolation as we have just been faced with this difficult future for us who are Christians. The phrase is, "God has a purpose for your pain, a reason for your struggle, and a reward for your faithfulness. Trust Him and don't give up." This phrase is deeply comforting and inspiring, especially in times of difficulty and challenge. Life is full of ups and downs, moments of joy and moments of pain. Sometimes we face struggles that seem overwhelming, and the pain seems unbearable. At these times, it is easy to feel lost and desperate, questioning the reason for such trials. That's where this phrase brings light and hope. By stating that God has a purpose for our pain, it suggests that our difficult experiences are not in vain. They have a deeper meaning, even if we cannot fully understand it at the moment. Perhaps these adversities will strengthen us, teach us important lessons, or lead us down a path we would not have taken otherwise. Likewise, the phrase highlights that there is a reason for our fight. Every battle we fight, no matter how hard it is not in vain. We may be facing challenges to grow, to overcome our limits, or to help others facing similar circumstances. And, above all, the phrase assures us that there is a reward for our faithfulness. When we remain steadfast in our faith, even in the darkest moments, we are building something valuable. This faithfulness can result in blessings, spiritual growth, or a sense of inner peace that surpasses all understanding. The final invitation to trust God and not give up is a powerful reminder that we are not alone in our journey. Regardless of how difficult the road ahead may seem, we can find strength and hope by trusting in something greater than ourselves. It is a call to persevere, even when everything seems against us, knowing that there is a greater purpose at stake. In short, this phrase encourages us to find meaning in our struggles, to remain faithful in the midst of difficulties, and to trust that there is a reward waiting for us in the end. It's a reminder that even in the darkest times, there is light and hope if we hold on to our faith and don't give up. Thank you very much for watching this video until the end. Leave a comment saying what you learned from this video. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you are not already subscribed, like the video and turn on notifications to be notified when we post a new video.